Well, I'm here with an old friend, Elizabeth Power. She's super smarty pants. She's a good kind of weirdo. And she's an intuitive and she's a translator and an infiltrator. Infiltrator. I told you infiltrated. And that's the
I
truth of
do.
it.
Yeah.
And she founded the Trauma Informed Academy. And the Trauma Informed Academy offers online and on site training in trauma responsive emotional intelligence. Thank you, God, to help people reduce the time, distress, and costs of recovery, as well as increase protective factors for the future. She really helps us deal with what I call our crazy moments, our crazy, the real,
Oh,
what's crazy and what's not crazy. I think we should just start there,
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Okay. I can give you a classic example. I was just on the phone with a gal who was sexually assaulted. She says, well, I'm not the only one getting a diagnosis.
mm,
And my neighbor across the street came over the other day and said, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I'm going, okay, what's up? She said, my daughter just came home from counseling and she was talking about the fact that they were going to terminate her. Are they going to kill her?
wow.
When you live in a real world instead of a world where people are just ordinary, we're just ordinary people, you discover that the pathologization of natural responses or appropriate responses to extreme events is another part of the mechanism of what I hate to say it, I'm going to sound really weird. Well, corporate greed.
Uh-huh.
If I don't have a diagnosis, then the finance office can't get the counselor paid. So the entire system is predicated on people having diagnoses and being sick. You don't get insurance coverage for mental health concerns if you're getting better. You only get it if you're staying the same or getting worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
I
this,
resent.
and I just want to before we go on, because the first sentence you said was so potent that we've based a system around pathologizing the natural response to traumatic events. The
Yes.
natural response. Tell us a little, what is the natural response?
Well,
Some shit
I,
hits you in the face in life. And what's the natural response?
I tell you what my mama would say about that. The more you pat a cow pile, that one that just hits you in the face, the more you pat a cow pile, the worse it stinks, but the faster it makes compost. Um,
Oh,
so, so here's how some of that works. Society wants to be comfortable. It doesn't want anybody who's so far out of the bounds that they're frightening. This is why people who have visible disabilities, like who use wheelchairs or might be missing a limb or might have a deformity, are more acceptable in some ways than people whose disabilities are invisible. With the invisible things that we call disabilities, like those things that get called mental illness, the fact that it feels very unpredictable because the person looks okay,
seem
but
okay. They look
they
like
seem
me.
okay, but they
So they
look like
must be
me.
fine.
They must be fine. I must be fine.
I must be fine.
um, but the truth is we often stop and forget, like Hurricane Helene over on the East Coast.
Mm.
Um, the stupidest thing I ever heard somebody says, well, why didn't they have more advance notice? It shows me they don't rain. When the mountains are like this, a flash flood's a whole different thing than when it's
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, sure.
Uh,
Steep,
those
a
people
steep
shouldn't be
mountain.
that upset. I mean, after all, it's been 6 months. And I'm like going, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Wow.
Deep cleansing breath.
Deep cleansing breath.
99% of the people, here's the key, 99% of the people who were awakened in the middle of the night or in the day by a roaring wall of mud coming at them to see their home disappear, all their goods disappear, all their history disappear, some of their friends disappear, have no way of getting out, have no water, no way to contact. How do you think those people should react? What should they be feeling?
Right. How
And
long are they allowed to feel upset, sad,
right, right, right,
rage?
right. Well, the DSM will tell you that if somebody dies and you're still grieving them 6 months later, it's pathological.
No kidding.
No kidding. The truth is that there are a couple of things to consider. Anything that so overwhelms a person that they think they might die or lose their mind or be badly injured, the brain processes as traumatic.
Yeah.
When the brain does that, it has one simple thing in mind. Oh my God, I've got to keep the body alive. If no body, no brain.
Sure.
So it shuts down a lot of functions that are peripheral in the moment. However, the reactions that you have are the reactions that you have based on where you are developmentally at that moment in time and a lot of other factors. So you get stalled out and then you grow up with Swiss cheese for development.
Swiss cheese.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because there's big holes missing, basically. You got some big holes missing because you left them in the past in that moment where you had to drop everything just to get through it.
Exactly. And not only did you drop everything in the past, but you also couldn't learn because overwhelming experiences universally make it hard for people to take information in and to speak clearly. They make it more difficult to make choices. They make it more difficult to identify and manage feelings. And if you didn't learn these things in your household or wherever you grew up, if you don't have them to start with, you're stunt and you get your growth is stunted by something traumatic. You sure aren't going to develop them. But that's called pathological, not learning. And I think it's about learning first.
Huh. So what do you guys do in the trauma informed academy? Like what's kind of walk us through how's it
Well,
different?
well, the first thing is we don't hear people's stories. If we're
Huh.
going to help you create a new story, because part of the challenge is as long as I'm living my old story, I'm stuck in my old life. Now, of course, I'm always going to have it. I'm never going to really get rid of it. But the challenge is how do I build and how do I tell a different story so that I have a different life? And so we help people frame things a little differently. For example, I bet you've heard people say, "Oh, no, 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 no. I was assaulted 30 times. My trauma is worse than your trauma." Oh, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. And you get the trauma Olympics going.
The trauma Olympics. My trauma is bigger than yours.
That's it, exactly. And so we stopped and we thought, that doesn't make much sense. That's competition.
Right.
And it's event based. It's based on was I raped, was I assaulted, was
Mm.
I betrayed, what was the name of the event that happened. And in fact, the brain doesn't care about the name of the event. It's going to react pretty much neurobiologically the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
doesn't
whether
matter.
it's like a sexual abuse trauma or a robbery trauma or just your dad whipping you hard trauma or like what like any
A,
trauma,
a
car
sinkhole or a
accident.
farming accident or a medical crisis, it's there's a set of responses that are going to occur, and how you get impaired in each area depends on a lot of things. So we decided what
Hmm.
happens if we look at the impact instead of the event.
Look at the
If you
impact
look at
instead
the
of the event.
impact instead of the event, you don't need a person's history.
True.
Because what you want to do is find out where are the holes in the Swiss cheese and help them fill those.
Mm-hmm.
A woman came to me a couple of weeks ago for some private coaching. She said, people tell me I have really poor judgment and I'm not good at making decisions and I don't like making choices. I said, okay, so let me ask you a question. When you were like maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, did other people make choices for you? Yeah. Would you get in trouble if you made choices? Oh, yeah, because if I made a choice that wasn't the one I was supposed to make, I'd get a whipping. I said, so help me understand how it is you think you can have a good time making choices now.
Right.
And you go back and there's just real nice information out there. At age 2, a child should maybe be given a choice between chocolate and vanilla, but not which restaurant to go to.
Uh-huh.
And developmentally, there are ages and stages that tell us what children usually learn when in this culture. And when we focus on helping people learn the things they missed, the holes begin to fill. So we look at an impact-based definition instead of an event-named definition. And the second thing we help people look at is how do they identify and use inner connections that they have to help them feel better for self-soothing.
Mm.
Because it's one thing if you grew up feeling crummy all the time, you don't know how to self-soothe unless you use substances or some form of trance dancing or something. You
Yeah.
don't know how to self-soothe.
Yeah. You want to leave your body instead of staying there and self-soothing like you don't know how. You don't know
Yeah,
how
so
to
you
stay in
can't
your body and feel okay.
exactly. So you
Uh-huh.
end up unable to tolerate the usual and ordinary discomforts of life, let alone
Uh-huh.
the extraordinary ones. So we use, and I can go into all the theory, but I don't think that's really where you want to go with this. We ask people to take a look take a look at your cell phone. Like, oh yeah, yeah, here's my phone. Yeah, okay, there's my phone. Now, Oh, I've had a lot of people pinging me and dinging me and all that. But you know what? If I go look in the pictures on the photos on my cell phone, um, it is not going to have pictures of people I hate on it. Does your phone have pictures of people you hate on it? Maybe the one who you're waiting to see if their obituaries come out yet, and you want to validate the face with them. That's the first thing. So if I know that there's somebody that really cares for me, that I care for, maybe I've got a picture of them on their phone contact. When I'm feeling like I don't think I can pull this off, all I have to do is go look at Sharon's picture,
Mm.
and automatically I bathe my brain in some feel good chemicals.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of other things you can do that with, like recipes, favorite foods. Imagine having a potluck and you say to people, bring your favorite food and be prepared to tell the story.
Oh, that's fun.
And suddenly we all feel good because we're telling stories that are good stories, and we're telling stories about something that makes us feel good. And suddenly we've just loaded that cup, that feel good cup, with a little bit more in it. Because what happens is we have this cup, this big cup, this is a big cup.
Mm-hmm.
It's full of all the pain, all the anguish, all the hate, all the hurt. It's a 55-gallon barrel of mad asshole. I'm just going to say it.
Go
But we
for it.
don't have a 55-gallon barrel of good, of
Mm.
positive. And so when we get overwhelmed, or when something overloads us and we try and pour from the big cup in the little cup, the minute it overflows, we're gone. We're
Uh-huh.
on, out of regulation. So we help people look at just simple, practical things. How do you bathe your brain in feel good chemicals? Wait. Get away from the idea that I'm asking you to give up anything or let go of anything or not have anything. It all happened. It's how to help you find a place that you can let it live and be more comfortable and more tolerable without it impairing everything you do. Choices. How many t-shirts do you have, Mellissa?
Oh, I have a bunch of t-shirts that I cut up to work out in them. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
good. And so when you go pick one, how do you pick a t-shirt?
Usually what color makes me happy. Yeah.
Bingo. I have people who say, I don't have any choices. I just don't have any choice. How many
Huh.
t-shirts do you have? What made you pick this one today? Why am I
Okay.
wearing this t-shirt? Because I couldn't find my other favorite black one, and I think this one's navy blue. A choice is simply a
Simple.
selection. A decision has judgment
Yeah.
attached to it.
Yeah.
So we help them think about things different. We teach
Yeah,
them
that's
different
cool.
tools.
And I know I
Connection.
mean, you've brought this into like hospitals
Oh,
and
yeah.
organizations like that,
Yeah.
and then you also use it when you're coaching folks and
Yeah.
coaching business owners and stuff.
Yeah.
And I love that this system works like it's kind of no matter where where
Well,
you are, what you're trying to make
yeah.
work for you.
Yeah. Well, the thing is we believe in universal exposure with unique reaction. We don't think there's a soul on this planet that hadn't been that overwhelmed by something, or
Huh.
maybe not yet. And we know that where people gather, like in a workplace,
Yeah.
golly, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that keeps people feeling overwhelmed and constantly threatened. The truth is, when a person is continuously unable to make progress or grow or change any behavior or do something different, they might well need counseling, and they might want counseling anyway. But if you boost your emotional intelligence through this lens of saying, I wonder how difficult things impact our ability to problem solve. The question I would be asking if I were running a therapy group, which I'm not since I'm not a clinician, would be, so tell me how your injuries have made it difficult for you to solve problems. But a question you can ask everybody is, I wonder how being overwhelmed affects our ability to problem solve.
Mm.
It's the same question.
Let's talk
And
about
suddenly,
overwhelm for a sec, like when you
yeah,
get the chance, because
yeah, it's a good one.
it's a good one, especially now. I feel like people culturally right now, there's so much barraging us with what's going on with the politics and the
Mhm.
environment and the changes and the culture. And what I'm hearing more and more now is I feel overwhelmed. And the AI, and like it's just a lot of words and a lot of humans and a lot of things to feel. I mean, what is overwhelm? What is that? What's really happening there when we say we feel overwhelmed?
When you try to put 10 pounds of rice in a 5-pound sack and you can't get it to go and you're overwhelmed. It's anything that exceeds your capacity to cope. You might be doing fine, but if you're a little on edge or maybe you didn't get enough sleep and you're in a meeting and all this information is coming and people aren't finishing one thought before they start a next, After a while, you know how it goes in your head? You're overwhelmed.
Tell me about it. I mean, before we turned on the recording, I was like, oh, yeah, no, I'm in a mood today. Like, I'm having a hard
Right?
time.
Yeah.
There's so
Same
much
here.
emotional hoo ha coming up, and the full moon, and the yah yah, and like,
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, we're all dealing with it on our own ways all the time. So, what do you do? What do you do with that extra 5 pounds of rice?
You give it to your neighbors. No, I'm kidding. It's
Feed it to the
share.
birds.
Well, you have a choice. If the 5 pounds of rice is, if you've got a 2 pound sack and 5 pounds of rice,
Uh-huh.
you either have to get a bigger sack to hold that rice. That's called increasing your self capacities.
Okay.
That's called learning how to be sturdy enough to tolerate the ordinary discomforts of everyday life
Mm,
and having tools to help you deal with the ones that are bigger than ordinary and
mm,
having resources when it's when it's way too big, you know. What do you do?
yeah.
So overwhelm, it's basically when you are neurobiologically dysregulated a little bit. That is, you feel jangly. Maybe
Yeah.
you feel like you've been sanded. Maybe you can't make your eyes focus properly.
Mm,
To tell people to, first of all, take a deep breath.
mm,
We have all quit breathing. To recognize that what we're dealing with are tried and true tools from torture, flooding the zone with misinformation, and creating instability so that people never know which foot to stand on, using inconsistent responses and inconsistent reinforcement are straight out of old books about human intelligence torture processes. I'm sorry to have to say the T word here, but we are in a time where it is being used to divide us against each other instead of helping us look at how to work with each other. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle or the politics you sit on. This isn't turning out the way anybody expected. And having the ability to say, okay, in history we've been through times there, people across the world have been through times like this. Maybe this is our turn. We're not hopeless and we're not helpless. We can resist. We have things that we can do, while we also make good, sensible choices about keeping ourselves as safe as we can. I mean, imagine being a Guatemalan who ran away from the Revolutionary Guard in Guatemala, the people that thought their family were communists and were slaughtering people in front of them, and you came to this country at 16, you missed the cutoff, you're not legal, you've got a tax ID number, and you fall in love with somebody else from Guatemala. You fall in love the very same month that ICE can come and pick either of you up and not send you back to your home country. That's deportation. But can kidnap you and send you to a third country where you have no contact, no ties, no connections, and no way to get out. And you still let yourself have enough hope to love. That's
I think
that's
those guys are
important.
kind of winning the trauma Olympics right now, to be perfectly
Yeah,
honest,
yeah, yeah,
if there
yeah,
is one.
yeah, yeah. I think so. So basically, helping people know that number one, 99% of the people that are not hospitalized for serious mental illness might well be experiencing some of this. And I use that 99% because it's a tool that's worked for me to help me realize that I'm having an ordinary, normal human experience. If somebody disses me on a flight, it's not something from which I'm never going to recover because the way the flight attendant said, "Don't touch me," because I touched to ask for more Coke. It's I'm the one who's stupid, you know. I, why would I think that somebody who gets assaulted on planes on a regular basis would want anybody to touch them?
Oof.
That's on me. It's not
Right.
gonna. I'm not going to be traumatized. I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm
Mm,
going to feel a little bit ashamed.
mm,
I'm going to apologize, and I'm going to thank her for serving me or him.
yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of it is going the extra mile in terms of kindness, in terms of being polite and courteous and being civil, because that's something that really eases the way when things have been overwhelming. The other
So, I
thing is
mean,
to,
I'm hearing you basically say that, when you say 99% of mental illness, of what we're calling mental illness, including those who are hospitalized for mental illness, those people are actually in another way to look at that is, well, that's actually a natural response to trauma, what's been created there. I mean, is that really true? Like, so people who are diagnosed with bipolar and personality disorders and all kind of stuff.
it's true if you only look at the nurture side. Is that the right way to say it? No, it's not the right
Okay.
way. It's true if you don't if you leave out the other half of this
The
equation. We all have
genetics.
epigenetics.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that the bad things that happened to our ancestors, we still have registry of in our DNA. When that gets activated, it complicates things. Our brains do respond. The biggest thing this does is it moves away from a bad brain theory exclusively, which says your brain's bad, you need medication.
You broken.
You're broken. Yeah, yeah, you're broken. You're gonna have a diagnosis the rest of your life, no matter what.
Uh-huh. Swallow these pills,
Yeah,
so that you're not so dangerous and broken, but you'll always be broken. These pills will help you not be dangerous while you're being broken. Something like
right,
that.
right. Unless you have a side effect listed on the box that's not really, it's a
Uh-huh.
crapshoot.
Yeah.
But basically,
Yeah.
it comes down to the little girl that was barking like a dog in a restricted psychiatric facility. She was 5 years old, and she'd been taken from her parents off of an Indian reservation because they were making meth. She was in a predominantly Anglo environment, and all she would do would be bark like a dog and bite and growl. So she was diagnosed with childhood psychosis. She was on medication. I said, "May I see her?" "No, because she's dangerous." I said, "Yeah, okay." So finally they let me see her.
Uh-huh.
And I was like on the floor going on my back, and they were thinking, "We got a room for this one." Um, and they had these two huge guys bring this little tiny girl in, and who was barking and biting and growling like a dog.
Uh-huh.
And she finally said, "Why are you doing that?" And I was immediately a goddess because they didn't know she could speak, let alone English.
Wow.
I said, "So you'll play with me."
Mm.
They had decided that she was psychotic because they were unable to think about if this child grew up in this environment with her parents making meth, she may have only seen the backs of their brown legs. They had res dogs that protected the family. If the res dogs protected the family and if they were her eye level, she probably has more attachment to the res dogs than to her people.
Mm.
And barking and biting and growling are the things she saw the dogs do to try and protect her family. That symbolic thinking is important.
Totally.
You have a child who's nonverbal who has repetitive behavior that's aggressive and destructive until you figure out what that communication is about, which means you have to consider them capable of communicating, even if it's in a different language.
Mm. Even if it's
Um,
in a different language. That really opens such a big door for
right,
a lot of folks.
right,
What if they
right.
are communicating but in a different language?
Yeah, yeah. And recognizing that the biological nature, we're beginning to untangle, some of the pathways that are associated with different kinds of difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
But did those pathways develop as a result of something that happened, or are they simply a quote birth defect?
Right.
And we're also learning neuroplasticity that says, look, you can make new neural connections and new neural pathways deliberately, so that whatever ones you have that might be a little on the squirrely side, that 55-gallon barrel, you can balance that out so you've got the balance going.
Mm.
It's really simple, really
Wow.
simple.
It's really beautiful, Elizabeth. I'm really
Thanks.
glad you're doing this work. And I know
Thanks.
you've, like, we could talk all for days because you got so many stories. I might have to have you back on. But it's that I really appreciate how down to earth you are talking about this stuff and how you really are a space of total non-judgment and that openness. Like, gosh, I think we all need somebody to get down on the floor and pretend to be a dog for us once in a while.
Yeah, we
It's
do.
so rare to have that. And I don't know that it's something that AI can give us. And I don't know that it's something that we can get when we're not in the same room with each other. I just don't know. It's a profound gift. And I know,
And it's a challenge because I want you to think about your great grandchildren. If
mm,
your great grandchildren live off planet, this is how we'll communicate. So mastering this particular form
yeah,
of communication and connection becomes really important.
yeah, this is
Uh,
humanity.
it's humanity. And there'll come a time when we may not even need it because if you think about and now I'm going to go out on a limb and saw it off from under me. What's the difference between watching a TV and projecting the image without a device?
Mm, right.
How is AI another step towards that?
Right.
How are the things that we have manufactured extensions of our thought processes?
Mm,
And when you look at from the sociology of medicine point of view, I think I really got hooked on all these ideas during the pandemic because we discovered that 24 million people had prescriptions for Zoloft in 2018. 24 million. Okay, now got to say it helps people relieve their symptoms. It's faster to dispense. It takes less oversight. It fosters a great big cycle of income for a whole set of people, all the way up to big pharma. But if half those people might be able to get off medication, which is still inherently colonizing, somebody has to manage it. You have to have the money for it. The price can't be too far out of your reach. It's all those things. 24 million people, 12 million could get off medication if they had regular relationship and moderate exercise.
Wow.
Let's look at that relationship for 12 million people. Maybe it's therapy. That's 3 sessions a month. That's 36 million appointments a month for one psychotropic medication. It takes 10 years to become a clinician. You can see maybe 20 people a week. If you're going to stay in the business, you last in the business an average of 6.9 years to begin with. This gap is never going to close. So we did an online survey where we asked 3,000 clinicians, would it be useful if their people came in with higher levels of emotional intelligence? And it was, oh my God, yes. It would make the work so much easier.
Totally.
And so we cross-reference social emotional learning skills with emotional intelligence skills with skills required for trauma recovery. And they are almost exactly the same. You can't do it with just emotional intelligence because that doesn't, the thought process behind developing it. And as you know, I'm big into energy. When you look at the energy behind emotional intelligence, it comes from a business place and from a place of how can we help people perform better so they get better jobs, have more money, have better relationships. It does those things. There's no doubt about it.
Sure.
But it also doesn't do anything. It doesn't take into consideration that your self-awareness, for example, which has to do with how you make choices, if your self-awareness has been impaired, how do you learn to make choices? The assumptions it makes are great.
Right.
And for people who have histories of overwhelming experiences, they may be distorted a little bit.
Got it. Yeah. So you're addressing something that's foundational.
Yeah.
You got to deal with the foundation before you deal with the structure of the building.
Yeah, exactly. And people say it's just so cognitive. Well, yeah, it's because the cognitive structures are what we don't get to build effectively when we're overwhelmed as children. I mean, for me, it was moving 12 times before I was 2.
Wow. That's a lot. Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for coming here and sharing your work and your thoughts and your love and your perspective in a time when I feel like we really all need to hear this stuff. And so,
okay, now I'm going to give you a 20-second exercise I want you to try, if not right now, a little bit later. Think about something pleasant or good that's happened today. Something that lit you up a little bit. Take 20 seconds and turn the volume up on it. That's all it takes. And you'll be amazed at how your face changes, how lighthearted you feel in here, how your energy changes, how your aura changes, how all the things that we didn't talk about that we ought to talk about sometime. All the good and mystical stuff playing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to use it.
I send you great blessings, and I thank you so much for this opportunity. If folks want to get in touch with me, they can always reach out to me at epower@elizabethpower.com, no S. I'm not the British romance novelist by
just the one power, just the one power. And we'll have those links also in the show notes so you can go find her and reach out. She's a master coach, a master.
We are loving what we're doing, and people are telling us it's changing their lives.
Yeah, I can feel that. I can feel that. Thanks, love.
Hey, thanks, darling. You take good care and holler at me again, okay?
You got it.
By the way, holler down here just means give me a call.
Oh, no, I figured that one out.
Okay, cool.
Holler at me. Thanks, love.
You too, honey. Bye-bye.
Bye.